Hi everyone, today I want to walk you through the new first-time homebuyers GST rebate, what it is, who it applies to, and where people tend to misunderstand it, especially here in Victoria. This rebate can mean tens of thousands of dollars in savings, but it's also very specific, and we're already seeing confusion around eligibility, spousal rules, and how it actually gets applied. Everything I'm sharing here is based on what I've read through the official Government of Canada sources, including the Department of Finance Canada and the Canada Revenue Agency. I've also written a full detailed breakdown that you can read afterward if you want to dig deeper. Let's start with what this rebate actually is. The first-time homebuyers GST rebate was announced on May 27th, 2025 as part of a federal housing affordability measures. It was later implemented through Bill C4 and received royal assent on March 12, 2026. That's the point when it officially became law and could be administered by the Canada Revenue Agency. In general, the rebate applies to qualifying purchases where the agreement of purchase and sale with the builder was entered into on or after March 20th, 2025, assuming all other eligibility requirements are met. This rebate is designed for first-time homebuyers who are purchasing a newly built home, building a home themselves, or buying a substantially renovated home. In every case, the home must be acquired as the buyer's primary place of residence. Depending on the purchase price, eligible buyers may recover up to 100% of the GST paid to a maximum rebate of $50,000. Now let's talk about who qualifies as first-time homebuyer for GST purposes, because this is where things often get misunderstood. To qualify, the buyer must be at least 18 years old, must be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, and must not have lived in a home they owned or that their spouse or common law partner owned in the year of the purchase or in any of the 4 preceding calendar years. This definition is strict and it applies worldwide, not just within Canada. That brings us to one of the biggest points of confusion: buying with a spouse or a partner. For GST purposes, both spouses or common law partners must qualify as first-time buyers. If either partner previously owned and lived in a home during the look-back period, the household does not qualify for the rebate. There's no partial rebate when one partner qualifies and the other does not. This is different from some provincial programs, and it's clearly set out in federal guidance. Now let's talk about how the rebate amount is actually calculated. Homes priced at $1 million or less are eligible for a full GST rebate up to $50,000 maximum. Homes priced between $1 million and $1.5 million qualify for a partial rebate, which is phased out on a straight line basis. Homes priced at $1.5 million or more are not eligible for the rebate at all. Here's a quick example. If you purchase a home for $1.1 million, that's price is $100,000 into the phase-out range. The total phase-out range is $500,000, so that puts you 20% into the phase-out. 20% of the $50,000 maximum rebate is $10,000, which means your final GST rebate would be $40,000. Now let's talk about what types of properties can qualify. Newly built homes purchased directly from a builder are the most common scenario, but they're not the only one. Eligible property types can also include owner-built homes, substantially renovated homes that meet federal thresholds, homes built on leased land where the lease meets federal requirements, and cooperative housing shares that grant possession of a residential unit. The rebate can even apply to less common housing types, including mobile homes and floating homes, such as houseboats, as long as all program conditions are met. That leads into resale homes and renovations. A resale home does not automatically qualify for the GST rebate. To qualify, it must meet the federal definition of a substantial renovation. That means at least 90% of the interior of the existing home must be removed or replaced. In practical terms, the home must be essentially gutted. Certain structural elements don't need to be removed, like the foundation, exterior walls, interior supporting walls, roof, floors, and staircases. Only livable areas count toward the 90% threshold: finished living space, finished basements, and finished attics. Garages, crawl spaces, and unfinished areas do not count. If the renovation doesn't meet that threshold, the property does not qualify as new housing for GST rebate purposes. Another key requirement is that the home must be acquired as the buyer's primary place of residence. Investment properties do not qualify. You can own more than one property, but you can only have one primary residence. Finally, let's talk about how the GST is actually handled in real transactions. The GST rebate is not automatic and should never be assumed. In new build and substantially renovated purchases, GST treatment is set out in the developer's contract of purchase and sale. The contract will specify whether GST is included in the purchase price, whether it's payable in addition to the price, and whether any GST rebate is being credited at closing through rebate assignment language. When a rebate is applied at completion, buyers are typically required to assign the rebate to the builder and confirm their eligibility. Contracts usually state that if the buyer does not qualify, they are responsible for repayment. Because of this, GST treatment and first-time buyer eligibility are addressed earlier than many people expect. After an accepted offer, but before completion, and in particular during subject removals. That's the due diligence period when buyers should review the contract carefully with legal and tax professionals. The big takeaway here is that the first-time home buyer's GST rebate is a meaningful federal incentive, but it's limited to new or substantially renovated housing, strict in its spousal eligibility rules, and dependent on precise definitions. It's also important to remember that first-time buyer eligibility doesn't begin and end with GST. In BC, programs like property transfer tax exemptions have their own rules and thresholds. A buyer may qualify for one program and not the other, or in some cases, multiple programs at the same time. If you want a full written breakdown, including all the details and examples, I've linked it below. And as always, this is general information only. Your specific situation should be confirmed through official government sources and with legal and tax professionals. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching.